some hoes after I rock this place. Super fly, living double wide, sidecar my glide, so don't see the ride. Full sack is there, bringing flash and flare. Got the long hair, swinging middle finger in the air. Snakeskin suit, 65 Chevelle. See me ride and sit, hear the rebel yell. I won't live to tell. So if you do, give the next generation a big fuck you. Who knew I'd blow a black punk warmer? Said fuck high school, pissed on my diploma. Smell the aroma, check my hits. I know it stinks in here, cause I'm the shit, 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 shit. They call me cowboy, I'm a singer with black. So throw a finger in the air, let me see where you're at. Say, hey, let me hear where you're at. Say, hey.
Wake up, you ain't heard the news. Welcome, everybody, to the Fast Break Sports Hour Friday edition, August 24th, 2018. TGIF, for those of you that had a long week of work, you guys are now happy it's Friday. Y'all getting out of work. Maybe y'all got off early, went to your favorite spot, maybe cracked open a cold one. Hey, I'm not judging. Do what you got to do, man. But again, Friday, jumping right into the weekend, jumping right into the meat of the week 3 NFL preseason. Man, like I said before, this is my favorite week when it comes to the preseason because this is where you get most of the starters to play a little bit more than they would in the other preseason games, what makes it a little bit more entertaining to watch. You know, it's cool to watch the backups and see what kind of depth your team has, but man, we got a full slate of games today, full slate of games tomorrow, and got a couple games on Sunday. Gonna run through some of these games, you know, nothing too in depth, just a little bit, just to get you guys caught up and see what's going on today in sports and football and a little bit of baseball, just to catch you guys up on what series are starting off today and going into Sunday. You know, they're mostly going to be talking about the National League Series starting off today. But let's get right into it. Let's get into NFL Week 3 preseason. Last night, one game, but actually it was supposed to be the Cleveland Browns against the Philadelphia Eagles, but they scratched it. They turned it into Cleveland Indians versus Philadelphia Phillies. For those of you that watch, you know what I'm talking about because the score was 5-0. Man, I've never seen that in my entire life watching football. I've never seen a 5-0 score. That was straight up, man. The Cleveland Browns, Tyrod Taylor looked like he was gonna be hurt there for a little bit. He got hit, and it looked like he hurt his hand or his wrist. Came out to be a dislocated finger on his left hand, and the Browns pitched a shutout, won the game 5-0. You saw, man, what am I trying to get to here? Oh man, Myles Garrett. You know, he's the highly heralded pass rusher. He's the main piece. He's the main hog on that Cleveland Browns defensive line, and he showed out yesterday. 2 sacks, including 1 sack for safety on Nick Foles. And speaking of Nick Foles, man, 3 turnovers. He threw 2 picks. He got safetied and he fumbled. 3 turnovers and a safety. That wasn't a good outing for what possibly could be the week 1 starter. I think if you had to put all your chips to the table and say who's going to start week 1, man, I would have to still go with Carson Wentz because how comfortable are you, even if Carson Wentz is at like 85, 90%, at starting Nick Foles week 1 against the Vikings, unless you're just like, you know what, not too worried about the outcome. After Nick Foles just tore up the playoffs last year, when he came in to replace Carson Wentz, it took him that first game to kind of get acclimated, and then once the playoffs took off, he did as well and had an awesome game going into that Super Bowl against Tom Brady. But this is a different Nick Foles. But how much credit does the Cleveland Browns defense get? It's preseason. That's understood. But the Cleveland Browns defense has been pretty good in the preseason so far. And to me, that they're a defense that's very underrated. Even last year, I think they're better than what people think. You know, they don't win a lot of games, but that's not always the defense's fault. The offense can put them in some very bad positions and make stats or make points per game worse, points per game given up by the defense worse than what it actually shows out on the field and with the talent they have on defense. And they have some talent on that defensive side. So if you're Eagles, if you're the Eagles fans, if you're just a franchise, do you make a big deal? Are you clamoring to get Carson Wentz back up in there and in that starting role? Hopefully by the week 1 here, less than 2 weeks away now. So that's going to be that just hyped up that battle a little bit more. And not to say it was a battle, but kind of more so rushing the quarterback back in because can they trust Nick Foles in that first game against the Vikings? Man, again, if you had a gun to my head, if Carson Wentz is anywhere close to 90%, 95%, you got to go with Carson Wentz and then just let it go from there. Let it blossom, see what it turns into. But, man, didn't look good for Nick Foles yesterday. I'm not one to really jump to conclusion, especially when he's not the actual starter, and not he didn't have the offense at full force as well, so that can play into it. So again, it was 5-0, nothing to see here, and to me, look, guys, the Cleveland Browns, they're starting to turn into America's darlings. They're on Hard Knocks, and as you watch, it's entertaining. And it brings you in, and you're like a part of it now. So it makes you feel like the Cleveland Browns are that team that you hope does better because you've been watching them week in, week out, and how they prepare. But let me break down what the Cleveland Browns are going to be, because there was a point where I was thinking, can this team be better than what they are supposed to be? Now, I still think they're going to be slightly better than what most people have them. I think most people will have them winning 4 or 5 games at the most. I kind of see them somewhere in the 7-win range, maybe 6, 7, somewhere around there. Nothing to where they're battling for a playoff spot. But there's going to be people that are going to jump into. There's already been a thing in Vegas or just on the sports betting where people are jumping on the Browns bandwagon and more bets putting down that the Browns will make the playoffs. That's not going to happen. Let me tell you what the Browns are. The Browns are, so you guys have all been on vacation. You guys have all been to the amusement parks, whether it's Disneyland, Six Flags. So it's the anticipation when you're waiting in line for an hour and a half just to get on this fabulous ride that you heard about. And it's like, I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to get on it. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. And you get on the ride, and the ride lasts about 30 to 40 seconds. And it was all right. But then you get off and you're like, I waited 2 hours for that? That's what the Cleveland Browns are. You putting in some time watching the Cleveland Browns and Hard Knocks and thinking there might be something here, but at the end of the day, it's just going to be another 6-10, 7-19. There's not going to be anything where it's like maybe they got something cooking here. No, to me they have a lot of. That's how TV works. You're going to see a lot of the great things that happens in practice. They're not going to show you a lot of the mess ups, which they still do. So is there more mess ups than not? I mean, you just got to look at the history of the Cleveland Browns, and you got to look at where they actually improved this year. I mean, Tyrod Taylor, because this is what I learned. His name's not Tyrod Taylor, it's Tyrod Taylor. We've all been saying it wrong, but that's besides the point. Is he really going to take this team and elevate them to the next level? Is the signing of Carlos Hyde at running back going to get them to the next level? Is Jarvis Landry and Josh Gordon, who just returned this past week, is that going to get them to the next level? Is David Njoku at tight end going to take that next? So there's a lot of questions. There aren't any sure things. And you have to also factor in the Baker Mayfield equation to where they're going to want to see this kid play at some point this season. So there's going to be those growing pains. So again, it's going to be something, it's going to be interesting to see early on, but then towards the middle of the season, we're going to be like, same old Browns. Maybe next year will be that year where you can start talking about them as a fringe playoff team. But this year still, they're going to be 6-10, 7-9, in my opinion. Nothing to where they're battling for a playoff spot. But that's what you got yesterday in Thursday night game. Talked about it a little bit more than I want to because there's nothing happened in that game besides mistakes and a 5-0 baseball shutout. That's what happened. For there not being a lot of baseball games yesterday, there was another one added to the schedule. Unfortunately, it was on the gridiron, man. And I don't want to see that ever again. I've mentioned on past shows that I don't mind seeing a defensive battle where it's like 9-6, 10-7, but I want to see a defensive battle, not a lot of mistakes by the offense, and that's what mostly happened yesterday. And it's preseason again. It is what it is. But let's get into today's games. Let's get into the. I might get into all the games, but definitely gonna get into the important ones. I'm gonna go off just by time, so it's not priority or nothing. So the Denver Broncos at the Washington Redskins, which is going to be interesting because you have a quarterback that played for Minnesota last year that was in the NFC Championship game, go to Denver. He's getting his feet wet. They're getting a little bit better with the offense. And then you got Alex Smith, who had arguably the best season of his career with the Kansas City Chiefs, get dealt to Washington, sign that big deal, that big extension with Washington. So it's cool to see these two guys continue to, man, progress in their new roles with these new teams. And I think they're both going to play, a substantial amount. I believe they're going to play at least a half again, unless they just tear the house down. It is what it is. It might take them out. But that's going to be an entertaining game to watch. Case Keenum and Alex Smith, see how they continue to just mesh with all the talent they have around them. More so Case Keenum on the offensive side when it comes to talent than Alex Smith. I think Alex Smith has a little bit more things he has to work with. Less things that he has to work with, especially with the injuries at running back. But speaking of that, Adrian Peterson, how much play is he going to get today? That's going to be fun to see. And with that, the Broncos' rush defense, because the Broncos' rush defense has been pretty porous these first couple preseason games. See, I stress preseason, but they've been giving up chunks of yardage early on in games when the starters are out there. So it's going to be one of those things to watch in that game. Washington and Denver Broncos. That gets kicked off, I believe, at 5 p.m. Pacific, and that would be 8 p.m. Eastern time. Check it out. Not going to be on, nationwide television. It'll be replayed on NFL Network sometime, maybe late night or early morning. The New York Giants at the New York Jets. Basically a home game for both of these guys. Sam Darnold, there was a report that Todd Bowles didn't want to or hadn't said who was going to start the game today. But now reports are coming out that it's going to be Sam Darnold and that he's going to get a half of play. And that's going to be interesting to see. What's up, man? Thank you for joining me on the Fast Break Sports Hour, Chewy. But it's going to be interesting to see Sam Darnold go against that Giants defense. Again, you have to wonder how much time these Giants defenders are going to play. Because if you look at the offensive side for the New York Giants, Saquon Barkley's not going to be out there. More than likely, Odell Beckham's not going to be out there because of the contract. So you have to wonder how much time is Eli going to be out there? Because Eli's going to be working with teammates that he won't be out there with on a regular basis most of the time. Yeah, these guys will come in, fill in third downs or whatnot, but it's going to be Eli, Shepard, and then you have Evan Ingram at tight end, the highly touted second-year tight end. I have high hopes for him. Obviously, you get work with that new offensive line with, I remember his name now. His name's Hernandez. Will Hernandez. Last time I was like, is his name Will Garcia? But I just couldn't. It was like, man, it's a Mexican name. Will Hernandez. And then you have Nate Solder at the left tackle position. So that they're going to continue to grow there when it comes to the offensive line of the New York Giants. So again, something to look out for to see how much Eli Manning plays and how he plays without Saquon and more than likely without Odell Beckham as they continue to work on a new contract. And Sam Darnold, again, might be playing the first half, starting for the New York Jets, and looking out for Teddy Bridgewater. Does he get to play today? That'll be a tall tale sign if he plays at all. If he doesn't play at all, then there's probably going to be hope to where they're holding him back for a trade. So look out for that. Check out those little details. Those are cool things to watch once the starters get out. But Sam Darnold is going to make a start per reports. The Seattle Seahawks at the Minnesota Vikings. Another report that Dalvin Cook might make his debut today, the running back for the Minnesota Vikings. That'll be good to see if it happens. He tore his ACL last year. It'll be good to see him out there if he plays, just to see what kind of speed he has out there, what kind of movement, confidence he has running with the rock. So And with that, Kirk Cousins gets his running back. He has his receivers already. That offense is going to be full force. That defense is full force. We know it's a top three defense. And then going against the Seattle Seahawks, who aren't a top three defense anymore. No more Legion of Boom. That's up and done with. Earl Thomas is the last soldier standing in that secondary. And will he remain a Seattle Seahawk by week 1? So that's going to be something to look out for as I start to sweat because it's NFL Friday night is getting hot and heated. But I'm sweating because it's a little bit hotter than usual for some reason in here. But it is what it is. New England at Carolina, another one of those games where you wonder if Tom Brady and Cam Newton, how much they're going to play. Obviously, they have those two quarterbacks are, man, those obviously you're talking about the greatest quarterback ever. But then Cam Newton is one of those guys that he's just a different style of quarterback, but he's definitely one of those top-notch quarterbacks, which you never know what you're going to get with Cam Newton, but just an impressive quarterback when you look at just his build, his athleticism. So you have, that's one thing you're going to look into, how much they're going to play, how much Christian McCaffrey is going to play. And then the Patriots on the offensive side, besides Gronkowski, I don't really see anybody holding back. So not to say that Gronkowski won't play, but those are the kind of players that, we don't really need to see too much from you, maybe a series or two, as opposed to the other receivers like Chris Hogan, Decker, with Edelman being suspended the first 4 games. Cool to see how much he's going to play tonight. Because, he's suspended for the first 4 games, but he still gets to play in the preseason. And so the Panthers, I think their receivers will be full force because they don't have really an established star, so you want to get that rhythm going. So that's going to be cool to see how much time they play. And Panthers, Patriots, I mean, it's preseason, but could it be a Super Bowl preview? I mean, the Panthers won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, not too far removed. And the Patriots have been in the Super Bowl the last 2 years, obviously. 3 years ago. Sorry about that, because it was Denver, Carolina, Atlanta, New England. I say 2 years ago because New England and Philly was still this year. So that makes more sense. But 2.5 years removed from the Super Bowl, I guess that's better. 2.5 years removed from the Super Bowl for Cam Newton. Can he get back there? And will Tom Brady be waiting on the other side? That would be a major clash. That would be an awesome game to watch. It would be a rematch of a previous Super Bowl they played, 2003? Off the top. It was either 2003, 2004, Jake Delhomme versus Tom Brady. That was an incredible game. Musi Muhammad, Steve Smith with the Panthers. That was incredible, man. That's when you had Troy Brown and David Givens for the Patriots, Deion Branch. Deion Branch was the MVP for that game. But that's besides the point. Patriots, Panthers, check that out. And actually on live TV or local TV or nationwide TV on CBS, so the whole world can watch, it's going to be the Detroit Lions versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why they would put that game on CBS on Friday night, I don't know. When you got Tom Brady versus Cam Newton, man, even the Packers going against the Raiders, I would believe those are 2 better options than the Lions against the Buccaneers. And with the Lions and the Buccaneers playing on CBS, I was thinking, obviously, for those of you that know, Jameis Winston's going to be suspended at the beginning of the season for 3 games. So Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be the starter. But in the first 2 preseason games, Jameis Winston's been the starter. So wouldn't it make sense for the Buccaneers to start Ryan Fitzpatrick tonight, since that's who's going to roll out week 1? So that's another thing to look out for. Is Ryan Fitzpatrick going to start with the ones, or is it still going to be Jameis Winston? When are they going to be able to create that rhythm? The Fitzpatrick with the starters, because 3 games is 3 games. It's not like he's filling in for 1 game. He's filling in for 3 games. You would like for him to start the game tonight against the Detroit Lions, going head-to-head against Matthew Stafford, Golden Tate, Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones Jr., and Kerryon Johnson. I'm telling y'all, that's the dude right there. To me, he's going to be the starting running back for the Detroit Lions. They finally will have a normal running back, not a scat back, not a guy that carries the ball for 8 times and gets 22 yards. None of that. That's just my opinion, my projection for Kerryon Johnson and the Detroit Lions. So another game to look out for. Fitzpatrick, is he going to start with the ones? That game is going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific, or 5 p.m. Pacific, excuse me, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your local listings. Y'all have all the gadgets and electronics at your disposal, all your handhelds that'll tell you exactly when these teams play. And I mentioned the Packers at the Raiders. Aaron Rodgers, does he really need too much time? He already has that rapport with Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, Jimmy Graham at tight end. Man, what is Jimmy Graham going to do this year? Is he worth picking up early in your fantasy drafts? That's something to look out for. Because with Aaron Rodgers, man, your tight end play gets a lot better. You can put anybody back there, but this is Jimmy Graham. This is a vet. Yeah, he's a little bit older, but last year with the Seahawks, he still caught 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns for the Seahawks with Russell Wilson, which is, to me, also a top 10 quarterback. And Rodgers is the best quarterback, so that's going to be a combination to look out for. And another battle to look out for is the running back battle for the Packers, Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones, to kind of see if one of them separates from the other or if it's going to be committee. So something to look out for there. The Raiders, Jordy Nelson going against his old foes. Packers did not want to retain him. Ended up signing with the Oakland Raiders, soon to be the Las Vegas Raiders. And how much does Derek Carr play? Because last week he didn't play at all against the Rams, which made sense the reason why he didn't play. So they were playing the Rams last week, and John Gruden said, I didn't want to play Derek Carr because we play the Rams in the season. And it's actually the first game of the season. So it makes a lot of sense, not to play him against a foe that you're going to play early on in the season. I don't even know why you schedule your preseason games against teams that you're going to play in the regular season. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I say you schedule all 4 of your games against the NFC foe, the division that you're not going to play against, and then you won't run into this issue. But there's that. So look out for the Raiders and Packers tonight. That's on NFL Network. That's actually a little bit later start. You're looking at 7:30 Pacific and 10:30 Eastern Time. So that's late. Those of you on the East Coast, man, you aren't staying up for that. I know that for a fact. Saturday games, going to run through this real quick. Kansas City at the Bears. That's going to be a fun one to watch if you're able to watch it. Patrick Mahomes, the number 10 pick, going against Mitchell Trubisky, the number 2 pick in last year's draft. As these kids continue to progress and get better and show why they were picked high, especially Patrick Mahomes with that gun of an arm and that talent around him. Mitchell Trubisky has a little bit less to work with, but has the running backs in the backfield, as does Mahomes. But Trubisky will need that Jordan Howard, will need that Tariq Cohen in the backfield to help him out, get things going on the offense. And Allen Robinson, does he get to play? Is he finally going to be stepping out on the field as a Chicago Bear, the former Jacksonville Jaguar, who, man, underachieved last year? And that lightly, he got hurt, but still underachieved, has been underachieving since he had that big year 2 years ago. Allen Robinson with the Bears, it remains to be seen if he's going to play, but it'd be cool to see him out there to add weapons to the Chicago Bears and Mitchell Trubisky. And Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Big Ben's looking like he's going to make his preseason debut. Still no Le'Veon Bell, but you got Antonio Brown. You got James Washington, the rookie. Look out for him. And obviously Juju Smith-Schuster. That offense, I'm not too impressed with their defense still. That might be their Achilles heel. Tennessee, obviously, Mariota, more improvement there. The receivers, the young receivers with Corey Davis, is he going to take that next step? As he was a high first-round pick last year, is he taking that next step this year? I believe he does, but another thing to look out for. This is the one I'm really interested in. The San Francisco 49ers going against the Indianapolis Colts. This is a low key. Now, this is out there, but if these quarterbacks, especially Andrew Luck, because I think Jimmy Garoppolo, that's a sure thing. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be, he's going to be it. He's going to be the guy. top 10 quarterback this year. I can guarantee. Well, yeah, I'll guarantee that. I'll guarantee Jimmy Garoppolo top 10 quarterback this year, whatever you want to put it, whether it's rating, whether it's yards, whether it's just QBR, I mean, whatever you want to put. I mean, just you can tell when you see a top 10 quarterback. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be there. Andrew Luck, does he get back into top 10 play? And does he continue to progress in that game? So it's going to be cool to watch those two guys. And will they, if Andrew Luck ever gets back to his full form, will you ever see those two battle out in the Super Bowl? That would be crazy to see. That would be interesting to see the 49ers and the Colts. So another thing to look out for, that quarterback battle to me is probably, I wouldn't say the best, but it's intriguing. It can be the best matchup of this weekend. Baltimore at Miami, Lamar Jackson. I mean, to see if he continues to get better. He's been kind of playing like this the whole time. Hasn't really been doing any of this progression. He's been just the same quarterback each week, showing flashes of why he was drafted in the first round, but then showing why they asked him to play receiver as well. So with Miami Dolphins, I mean Ryan Tannehill, got to see what he continues to do with that offense and Adam Gase. The Texans and the Rams, definitely Deshaun Watson, maybe not Jared Goff. Still, that's going to be closer to game time decision if they're going to decide to play him or not. Todd Gurley's not playing, so that's the only reason why I question if Jared Goff's going to play at all. But Deshaun Watson's going to play. Obviously, he has his weapons, and both. This is the battle of defenses. The Texans and the Rams, man, there isn't that those two defenses. That's a lot of star power. I'm not going to run through the whole defenses, but check that game out. And then you got old buddies, old friends, old competitors. Drew Brees going against Phillip Rivers in this Week 3 matchup, New Orleans versus the Chargers. That's tomorrow, and that's going to be a fun one to watch. Check your local listings. Again, that's not going to be a live game. Or is it? I know there's a game tomorrow, but I'm not too sure which one it is. I should have wrote down. But again, check your local listings, see which one they're going to show. At the end of the day, NFL Network shows all these games on replay if they don't show them live. So New Orleans, Chargers, man, what can you say about these teams, especially their quarterbacks? I think they both have underrated defenses, especially New Orleans in the secondary. Chargers, man, that pass rush and in the secondary. So look out for that game. And Atlanta at Jacksonville. I mentioned that game just because of what Jalen Ramsey had mentioned last week, speaking about Matt Ryan and him being overrated. So now he will get his shot to go against Julio Jones, again, if he plays, Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu, be able to check those guys out. Coleman, Devontae Freeman, they have all the weapons. So is Matt Ryan going to be average today? Man, that's going to be fun to see if he actually takes a shot at Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be crazy, because you don't just say something like that and pretend like that was never said. He probably played it smooth and said, you know what, I'm not worried about Jalen Ramsey because he's not on my team. But, in the back of his mind, he's like, all right, I got something for you. And Jalen Ramsey's not going to back down. He's going to stay true to his word, and he's going to be up in your face. So that's going to be fun to see the highlights. We all going to check the highlights. We're not going to watch all these games. We're not going to sit back and watch the replay of these games. But we definitely going to see the highlights to see if anything crazy happened. And then Sunday, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen's going to start. He's going to get ready to start for Week 1. I truly believe that, even though AJ McCarron isn't as hurt as they once said. Man, making up some fake news, talking about he broke his collarbone, making me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. I could only go off of what they say. So they tell me it's a broken collarbone. I'm not going to say it's not broken. I'm going to say it's a broken collarbone. But no, it's not a broken collarbone. It's a strain. He should be good to go Week 1, but I don't think he'll start. I think this sets up perfectly for Josh Allen to start. Though it's not going to be easy pickings against the Baltimore Ravens. Week 1, I had mentioned before, if you got the Baltimore Ravens defense, you better get that defense against that quarterback in Week 1. That's going to be wonderful for that Baltimore Ravens defense because they're the truth. But that's probably the one thing to look out for. Nothing much else checking out. The Sunday night game was supposed to be blockbuster. It was supposed to be the Arizona Cardinals at the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry's World, but nope. I mean, it's still going to show it. It's still going to be there, but there's not going to be no Dak Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott. So it's going to be the Cowboys backups going against the Cardinal starters. And does Josh Rosen play? Now, yesterday I mentioned that it looked like he wasn't going to play, that they might keep him out because he hurt his hand. Now it's going to be a game time decision. I think at the end of the day, that's a tough one. I wouldn't play him. If it's his throwing hand, if it's an issue with something like that, I wouldn't play him. I would just let Sam Bradford play the first half and then bring in your third string to finish it up. And if he's ready for that fourth game, let Josh Rosen play the first quarter for that fourth game and go from there. Because the starters don't play that fourth game. But that rounds up this week's week 3 preseason for the NFL. That rounds it up. And that's it. When it comes to the games, nothing else matters after this week until that Thursday night game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. Nothing else matters. Let's be real with it. Because next week you're going to see nothing but, you might not even see second stringers. You might see third stringers and fourth stringers. Because if you look at the landscape of just your team, whoever your team is, the final roster is pretty much set unless something crazy happens this week. You might have going into that last week of the season, the last week of the preseason, next week, which they all play on Thursday. So next Thursday, I believe there's one game on Wednesday, but pretty sure they're all on Thursday. The teams already have, I want to say 97%, 98% of the team, the players already made it. Now, we know the cuts are going to come September 1st. So the teams are still going to be full. As opposed to previous, they used to do a partial cut right after the third week. And then they would do the full cut, after the fourth week. But now it's let everybody, which I think is a better move because you get to keep these players and you don't want to play any of your first stringers and some of your second stringers. You got more players to come out and just play the whole game. But these teams will probably, depending on your team, 3 to 5 or 6 spots are probably still up for grabs. 3 to 5. And a lot of these are special teams positions. So that's what you look for in week 4. Nothing much, unless you really like to look at backup quarterbacks and see how they progress and some of these, 6th, 7th rounders or unsigned free agents, see if anyone just comes out of the woodwork and just makes a name for themselves. It's been done before. But, like I said, this is it for the NFL preseason. Once we get past Sunday, it's just clamoring and waiting for that week 1. It's coming up real fast. Before you know it, we're going to be having the wings, the beer, the chips, the dip, all that good stuff for that Thursday night game leading into, and that's just the appetizer. Because once you get into Sunday, man, that's full force eating all freaking day. Man, that is no bull sugar. That's wonderful. And then Monday night, doubleheader. You don't get, once football starts, man, it's lovely life forever. But it's here. So strap up for that. Before I get into my 8 to 5 power rankings, let me just get baseball out the way. I'm not putting it to the side, but not, when it's football like this, that's what happens. But I'm still going to give y'all some of the information. So moving over to Major League Baseball, today we have some series starting, major series. We have the St. Louis Cardinals going against the Colorado Rockies, who, hey, make no bones about it. These two teams in the National League are the hottest teams out there right now. So who's going to get that one up on each other? That series starts tonight. The Cardinals have been on a tear, man. Like I mentioned before, they're 20-6 in their last 26 games. The Rockies, they're 9-3 their last 12. So, hey, man, both these teams are on tears. Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. Who takes the series, and does one of these teams get swept? That's going to be crazy to see. And the teams below them, because these are the two teams up there with the Brewers. The teams below them, man, they're hoping one sweeps the other, because it's able to bring them down a little bit. With that, you have the Seattle Mariners going against the Diamondbacks. The Mariners, great record, but because the American League is so top heavy with those 5 teams that I had mentioned that are in my point of view, because right now the Mariners are 4 games back, whether you look at the wild card or 5 games back when you look at their division. But you have the Red Sox, you got the Indians, you got the Astros, you got the A's and the Yankees. That's 5. I did 4, but that's 5. The Mariners are on the outside looking in, but they still got one of the best records. If you put them in the National League, oh man, they would be the number 2 seed right now. So Seattle, that's not going to be a pushover for the Diamondbacks. So Seattle at Arizona, that's important for the Rockies and the Dodgers because they're wanting Arizona to lose a couple of these games in this series. San Diego at LA, this is it for the Dodgers. There is no going 1-2 against the Padres. There is no getting swept because if that happens, I'm putting a nail in it. If that happens, I'm gonna start off next show, which will be Monday. We starting off that show with some rest in peace Undertaker music for the Dodgers if they go 1-2 or if they get swept, man. Whoo! You will not be seeing those Dodger socks. Where's that? Right there, right there. You won't be seeing that on there. I won't be wearing this hat, man. And see, I'm wearing it backwards because we'll see what the Dodgers do. Man, got to get back in that race. They're setting up the cupcakes for you. You got the Padres coming up, LA. Do what you got to do, man. Play the games right. Philadelphia at Toronto, more so Philadelphia. Obviously, it's an interleague game. Toronto's out, but Phillies, they're in that wild card hunt, slightly behind the Braves in the division. Speaking of the Braves, they got the Miami Marlins, pushovers, cupcakes. The Pittsburgh Pirates at Milwaukee. Milwaukee right now holds that second spot in the wild card. I believe they're tied with the Rockies percentage points. So that's what you look out for. And last I saw, I believe the Cubs beat the Reds today, 2-1. When I started the show, it was 2-1, and it was the top of the 9th. So I don't want to jump to conclusions. But the Cubs right now, they're number 1. They're the number 1 team in the National League. Got somewhat of a cushion, but the Cardinals are hot. The Cardinals are on their heels, so look out for that. So let me pull up that score real quick, just to make sure I get it right. Because I don't want no one saying, man, you said they won. But, yeah, sure, it would be real slow. But, man, y'all check out the score. Man, I'm sorry, Internet. But it was 2-1, man. I'm pretty sure the Cubs closed that out against the Reds. It was in the 9th inning. They had an out. So we'll see what happens there. With that, man, getting right back on my phone. But for you baseball fans, I'm not doing that. But I love baseball. But I just had to talk about all the football games today. So kind of, again, with yesterday being a slower day in baseball, besides the Rockies coming back and walk-off home run, man, they were losing to the Padres. Supposed to do us a favor last night. The Padres had split the first 2, and they were up 3-2 going into the 9th inning, got the first out. I'm like, man, the Padres are going to pull it off. Rockies going to go half a game down. Walk-off home run, Ian Desmond, 2-run home run, man, and they win the game. Rockies have been doing that, man. If you look at the run differential, just it's in the standings. But when you look at run differential, usually the teams that have a positive, it's a green number. The teams that are in the green are the best teams in baseball. So all of the playoff teams, or the teams that are biting for a playoff spot in the National League, they're all in the green. And believe it or not, the Dodgers are number 1 when it comes to scoring differential, but they're the last place team in that playoff race, it's crazy. And the Rockies are right up there, but they're in the red. They're in the negative. So that makes no sense to me because usually the point differential will tell you exactly how good a team is and who's real and who's not. I don't know. That's something that boggles my mind. The Rockies are in the red, but they're that up high. That makes no sense to me. But that's baseball, man. I wanted to say, no, not going to say it. But let's get back to this, man. Let's get into these power rankings, finish off the show. Man, thank you for joining me on the Fast Break Sports Hour, leading off into the weekend, man. We're going to have a great weekend. We're going to eat a lot of food. Tomorrow's my fantasy draft, fantasy football draft, Fantasy Legends 5. This is the 5th year we have this together. Gonna have a great time tomorrow. Shout out to everybody who's in the league. Man, I'm gonna win a draft tomorrow. It's that next day thing when you look at your team, you're like, or you're like, man, I drafted real good. But a lot of times you're like, man, what happened? But that's the other teams. Me, I'm always happy with my draft. I'm just saying, we'll see. I'm always up there, man. Let's keep it real. I don't always win the championship, but I'm up there. My pops is like, yeah, I'm number one because I won a championship. And he actually beat me last year. So that kind of paybacks this year, buddy. But yeah, let's get back into this. Let's get a little music going. Let's get it hyped up, man, for this. Oh crap. Oh. I didn't even know that was on there. But now I know. So at number 8, we have, and this is the NFL preseason power rankings. Hola, you hate cuts. What's that, Maria? Hi, mother. What do you mean you hate cuts? Man, we do no cuts here. Everything is live. There's no breaks. There's none of that. There's no edits. There's no cuts. It's all real. Or did you say something wrong? But either way, my NFL preseason power rankings at number 8, Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, last year they won the AFC Championship game. They should have been in the Super Bowl, but they gave the game to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. That defense was full force. Man, it was looking like they was going to win this, but they gave Brady too many chances, and you cannot do that to the greatest quarterback on earth. But with the Jacksonville Jaguars, man, their defense is stupid. Malik Jackson, Calais Campbell. Dude, last year the Broncos, I'm not going to get into that, but last year that was a big signing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mentioned the Broncos because they were in the run for that. They didn't get him. They didn't want to pay him the money. They should have. Linebackers off the chain, Telvin Smith Jr., Miles Jack, and that secondary with Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Bouye, man, that team is stacked defensively. Problem is, offense. You lost Allen Robinson, so now you got to figure out who is your number one receiver. Is it Keelan Cole? Is it Marquise Lee? Is it, who is it? D.D. Westbrook? DJ Shark? Man, y'all got to figure that out. And maybe you got to figure out if Blake Bortles is actually your quarterback. He's an up and down player, but he gets a lot of his stats when his team's down. But last year they actually won. So Blake Bortles, is he going to take another step forward? Or is he going to remain just to be that guy that's just hanging around the middle? And I'm not saying middle when it comes to the quarterbacks in the league. He's not in the middle of the pack. He's in the lower 24, 25, 26 range. But when I say is he just going to, I'm saying his play has been like this of late. That's what I'm trying to say. So equator-ish. Leonard Fournette, though, in the backfield. So does he come back full force? He got hurt at the end of the season last year. But Leonard Fournette, that's the bright spot on the offense. Who steps up as the wide receivers? They're number 8. Number 7, baddest man on the planet, quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and the Green Bay Packers. That's the best quarterback in the world. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, I said Tom Brady's the best quarterback, but I lied. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback now. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever. But right now, Aaron Rodgers is the most, when you look at a quarterback completely, when you look at mobility, when you look at being able to throw on the run, make any throw, and being able to bring your team back. Not to say that Tom Brady can't bring your team back, but he has, man, just less of a chance. Aaron Rodgers is, come on. Tom Brady's always ahead because his team's always been better. More things around him, better coach. What the hell is this music, man? Pissing me off. But, yep, we got all these ads. What are the Green Bay Packers? Sorry, I'm kind of lost my thought right there. But with the Green Bay Packers, Devontae Adams, man, that dude, he's going to have a big season this year. As long as he stays healthy. Him and Randall Cobb, that's the 1-2 punch. No more Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson's with the Raiders. So you look at those two, then you, like I mentioned before earlier in the show, Jimmy Graham. So you got your 3 guys there. You got your tight end, you got your 2 receivers. You got the battle at running back, Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, and maybe somebody comes out of the dark and becomes a starter. Because none of those two are really like, they're not as impressive as to say, this guy has to start. So one guy could come out of nowhere and say, you know what, this is my job. But right now it's those two guys. The thing that might hold them back is the defense. Remains to be seen with the Green Bay Packers. But they're number 7. I still expect them to move high into the playoffs, get deep into the playoffs. We'll see what happens there. At number 6, the Pittsburgh Steelers, another team that I'm kind of questioning the defense, especially last year. If you saw, their defense was horrible, giving up a lot of points, a lot of yards, especially in that playoff game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But offensively, second to none with Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell once he comes back, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. Man, what can you say about those 3 guys? And you put James Washington into the mix? Yeah, they lost Martavis Bryant, but they weren't using him how they should. He was in the doghouse for that team. Martavis Bryant now with the Raiders. Steelers still got that offense, man. They're going to put up points, so I expect them to be deep into the playoffs as well. Pittsburgh Steelers, number 6, and my number 5 team right before the top 4, which I will get to on Monday. That's where you get your top 4 on Monday. But number 5, Drew Brees. Yeah, Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. Man, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram once he comes back from his suspension, Michael Thomas, and watch out for Cameron Meredith this year. They picked him up from the Chicago Bears. Might be a sleeper wide receiver pick right there. Cameron Meredith. Obviously, Michael Thomas is a top-notch receiver, so I ain't got to say much about that. But watch out for Cameron Meredith. That's just my little thing I like to put out there. There's some sleepers out there. I believe he's one of them. And defensively speaking, man, you looking at Marcus Williams, though he had that mistake in the playoffs, had an awesome rookie season at safety. And Marshawn Lattimore, Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Saints on defense the Saints overall had a perfect draft last year. When you look at those two in the defensive backs, in the secondary, and then you look at Alvin Kamara, that's flawless. Alvin Kamara, man, arguably a top 5 running back right now. When you just look at everything combined, when you look at the pass game, the run game, and even in the return game, because he can do that too. He had a touchdown last year in the return game. So Alvin Kamara, man, that's another guy. If you got him, you're lucky. But that's what I got. Power rankings, 8 through 5. Jacksonville, Green Bay, the Steelers, and the Saints to round out. And going into my Final 4 Monday, that's what I got for y'all today. Wonderful games this week in baseball. Wonderful games in football when you look at just preseason. So, man, sit back, relax, crack open whatever you crack open, guzzle that thing. Make sure you have a lot of food around because you're going to be hungry because you're going to be watching a lot of sports. But that's all I got to say. Appreciate you guys for watching. I'll be back Monday. Fast Break Sports Hour. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Like, subscribe, comment, do all of that. Man, love y'all. Fast Break. I'm out.